days when your body wakes up, but your soul stays in bed. The sunlight breaks through the curtains, yet something inside you hesitates to follow. You go through the motions, make coffee, check your phone, answer messages, living what everyone calls a normal life. But deep beneath the routine, there's a quiet heaviness moving like fog through your chest. You can't quite name it. It's not sadness exactly, nor simple exhaustion. It's a tiredness that sleep can't touch. And perhaps the strangest part is how normal you look on the outside. You smile at the right times, keep up conversations, meet your deadlines. Yet, a part of you feels like it's slowly fading. That's often the first symptom of a mind on the brink of collapse. It becomes a master of disguise. Over time, that inner silence starts making more noise than any sound outside. It's like living in a house with invisible cracks. Everything still stands, but you can sense it's about to give way. The problem is, these cracks don't look serious enough to ask for help. You tell yourself, "I'm just tired. It'll pass." You repeat it like a fragile mantra, trying to convince yourself that the structure is still solid. But the mind keeps whispering what the body already knows. I can't keep holding this much anymore. Many people mistake this quiet collapse for resilience, but in truth, it's a form of surrender, the kind that hides behind routine and politeness, while inside, something is quietly breaking. Collapse rarely arrives as a dramatic explosion. More often, it slips in quietly, through small gestures that look harmless. You stop doing things you once loved and call it being busy. You isolate yourself and name it needing space. You wake up tired, drag through the day and tell yourself, this is just adulthood. But slowly, the mind begins to shut down the parts that hurt the most, and with them, it dims everything else too. Curiosity, creativity, wonder. It's like turning off lights in a house one by one, until you're left sitting in the dark, unsure how it happened. The danger is that we start mistaking survival for living. But what if the signs we ignore aren't weaknesses to fix, but signals from the soul asking for help? In this video, we'll explore 5 symptoms that seem normal, but are quiet cries for pause, warnings that the mind is nearing its limit. And beyond recognizing these symptoms, you'll learn how to respond to them with compassion before they turn into screams. Because caring for your mind isn't luxury, it's survival. And perhaps, along this journey, you'll discover something profound. That collapse is not an ending at all, but the beginning of a deeper call to start again. You sleep for 8 hours, but wake up as if you'd run a marathon. The pillow still holds your shape, your body feels heavy, and even coffee can't light a single spark inside. This kind of fatigue doesn't come from lack of sleep. It comes from emotional overload. It's your body's way of saying, something deeper is draining me. When the mind is saturated, rest no longer recharges it. It keeps spinning through unsolved conversations and unfinished worries long after you close your eyes. It's as if the mind works overtime in the dark, rehearsing pain instead of releasing it. You wake up tired of yourself, not because you didn't rest, but because your thoughts never did. This exhaustion can't be cured with weekends off or double espressos, because the issue isn't in the hours we sleep. It's in the hours we live in survival mode. Anxiety, constant worry, the pressure to perform. Each keeps the brain running like an engine that never shuts off. Even when the body rests, the nervous system stays on high alert. Cortisol remains elevated, dreams lose depth, and colors fade from daily life. It's like living with the fight or flight switch permanently stuck in on. You move, work, function, but beneath it all, your system is begging for a full stop. Think of someone who gives everything, at work, for friends, for family, but never feels it's enough. They meet deadlines, help everyone, and get praised. Yet the moment they try to rest, guilt kicks in. The mind whispers, "You should be doing something useful." Rest stops being peace and becomes anxiety in disguise. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Their body pleads for pause, but the mind only understands movement. And so, the cycle repeats. Productivity as self-punishment. Busyness as proof of worth. The first practical step is simple, but profound. Stop confusing rest with doing nothing. Real rest is permission to exist without producing. It's walking slowly, breathing without a goal, letting silence speak. For people who live overloaded, that sounds wasteful, but it's the opposite. It's what keeps time from wasting you. Collapse rarely comes all at once. It's built day by day, from every ignored signal, every moment you said, "I'll deal with it later." Until finally, the body does what the mind refused to. It shuts down, but there's something subtler and far more dangerous. When fatigue becomes part of your identity, you start saying, "I'm always tired," with a half smile, as if it's just how life is. At that point, your body isn't just tired, it's calling for rescue. Because once exhaustion turns familiar, it hides in plain sight. And if you ignore that call, the next symptom emerges. One that looks like strength, but is actually numbness. A strange calm that's not peace, but disconnection. Somewhere between exhaustion and collapse, a strange stillness begins to form. You stop feeling anger. You stop feeling joy. What's left is an eerie calm, as if nothing has the power to touch you anymore. On the surface, it looks like balance. Inside, it's disconnection. The mind, overwhelmed by pain, starts protecting itself by switching everything to silent mode. But in doing so, it mutes the very things that make life vibrant. The world keeps spinning, people keep talking, but you watch it all through fogged glass, present yet absent. And here lies one of the greatest misunderstandings of emotional life. What many call maturity is sometimes just a quiet form of giving up. This calm is deceiving. It feels like relief at first, the end of chaos. But it's not peace, it's emotional anesthesia. The volume of your soul has been turned down, and everything sounds distant. You don't cry anymore, but laughter also feels hollow. You don't get angry, but excitement feels unreachable. Days pass in gray tones. Nothing is terrible, but nothing is truly alive either. People might praise you for how centered or collected you seem. They don't realize that what they're admiring is a person quietly fading into numbness. And deep down, a quiet question begins to echo. When was the last time I actually felt something? Imagine someone who's been hurt so many times that they stop expecting anything from anyone. They call it peace, but in truth, it's fear of being disappointed again. The mind builds walls and names them boundaries. It's easier to close the door than risk another heartbreak. But those walls don't just keep pain out, they keep healing out too. What looks like self-control is often self-protection. You get so used to emotional numbness that feeling starts to seem dangerous. And when feeling becomes the enemy, living turns into a task. Life stops being something you experience and becomes something you simply manage. The way back begins when you stop confusing this false calm with strength. The antidote to numbness isn't forcing emotions, it's allowing vulnerability. It's letting yourself be touched again, even when it stings a little. It's listening to a song that moves you, even if it brings tears. It's remembering that feeling pain also means you're still alive. Emotional indifference is the last wall before surrender, and breaking it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Healing starts when you miss feeling again, and as you begin to feel again, something remarkable happens. Small things, music, a smell, a memory, start reaching you. Your heart stirs, sometimes with pain, sometimes with tenderness. The ice begins to melt, but as warmth returns, another symptom often emerges. The desperate need to control everything, to turn inner chaos into outer perfection. It's subtle, logical, even praised by others. Yet beneath that order often hides fear, the mind's last attempt to feel safe. When the mind starts losing control on the inside, it compensates by trying to control everything on the outside. That's why, during emotional crises, some people become obsessively organized. They clean drawers, make lists, scrub the kitchen at midnight, not out of joy, but silent panic. Every folded shirt and aligned object is an attempt to fix what feels broken inside. It's a desperate form of order, because when the world inside feels chaotic, the external one becomes the only thing you can rearrange. The tragedy is that while everything looks calm and structured, the soul beneath is trembling. Control becomes distraction, and order, a refuge from emotion. It's easy to mistake discipline for rigidity. There's a thin but powerful line between caring for your life and trying to protect yourself from it. The overloaded mind believes that if nothing changes, nothing can go wrong. So it builds systems, routines, and plans, not out of love for order, but fear of chaos. The illusion of control feels safe until the smallest thing breaks it. A late response, a bad day, an unexpected comment. Then the whole structure collapses. Because control isn't peace. It's tension disguised as stability. The person becomes like a glass sculpture, beautiful, precise, and one crack away from shattering. I once heard the story of a woman who cleaned compulsively whenever she felt sad. The smell of disinfectant became her emotional camouflage. When her husband left, she spent days reorganizing closets until one afternoon, while holding an old teacup, she finally broke down. She realized the mess wasn't in the house, it was inside her. In that moment, standing still with tears falling into the cup, was her first step toward healing. It didn't happen when everything was spotless. It began when she allowed something to stay out of place, both inside and out. The practical application here begins with permission to let go of perfection. Leave your bed unmade. Let a plan remain unfinished. Skip a task without guilt. This isn't negligence. It's a gentle rebellion against fear. True balance comes when you realize that not everything must be in place for life to move forward. Chaos is part of existence. When you stop fighting it, fear transforms into freedom. The courage to allow imperfection is what gives the soul room to breathe again. But there's a subtler version of control, the kind that happens entirely inside the mind. You plan every conversation, predict every outcome, imagine every scenario, rehearsing life like a script. It feels smart, even responsible, but beneath it is fear, the terror of not knowing. The truth is, no matter how many times you plan the future, you can't control it. And that constant mental rehearsal doesn't bring safety. It brings exhaustion. The more you try to predict everything, the less space you have to feel anything. That's where the next symptom begins, the constant need to stay busy, to move endlessly, so silence never catches up. There are people who simply don't know how to stop. The moment their body slows down, their mind speeds up. They clean, scroll, work, post, reply, anything to avoid stillness. Silence has become hostile territory, because when everything gets quiet, the mind starts to speak. And that's when the questions appear. Are you happy? Does this make sense? Do you even recognize yourself anymore? Constant motion becomes anesthesia. It's a way of avoiding the inner voice by drowning it in noise. What looks like productivity is often a disguised escape. Over time, that rhythm, non-stop and relentless, turns life into a checklist, not a story. The paradox is that this kind of motion is celebrated. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness. Being productive has become a moral badge, a measure of worth. But no one talks about the cost. Disconnection. You can be surrounded by activity, yet completely absent from yourself. The more you do, the less you feel. And when silence finally comes, right before sleep or during a rare pause, the panic hits. Because stillness feels foreign. The modern tragedy is this. We've mistaken movement for meaning. Imagine a man who's worked tirelessly for years. When he finally takes a vacation, the first days feel unbearable. He paces, checks emails, fills his time with small distractions. But then boredom arrives, and he doesn't run. He sits with it. Slowly, beneath the discomfort, something begins to surface. Exhaustion, sadness, a voice that says, "I'm tired." That's when healing begins. Because what we often call emptiness is really space. Space where the soul finally speaks. But most people never reach that point. They rush back into motion the moment silence starts to echo. The practice starts small. A few minutes of nothing. No phone, no noise, just breath. At first, your mind will resist. It will itch for distraction, demand stimulation. That's okay. Stillness is like a muscle. It trembles before it strengthens. With time, silence stops being an enemy and becomes a refuge. The external noise fades, and the internal one begins to organize itself. For the first time in a long while, you feel at home inside your own head. But here's the hidden truth. When we stop, what rises isn't always peace. It's everything we've avoided. The grief, the guilt, the memories. And yes, it's painful. But facing those voices is what turns collapse into awakening. Silence doesn't destroy. It reveals. It strips away the distractions so you can finally hear what's real. And from that silence emerges the final symptom. The loneliest one. Not the absence of people, but the absence of presence within yourself. Maybe collapse isn't the end we fear. It's the soul and body calling us back home. When everything falls apart, what remains is truth. And in the silence after the storm, something soft begins to whisper. What's born after the fall isn't strength, it's presence. It's the courage to look at yourself and say, I'm still here, even if I'm not okay. Every symptom that once felt like failure, fatigue, numbness, control, endless movement, wasn't a sign of weakness. It was your mind begging to be cared for. And the moment you finally listen, healing begins. Rebuilding isn't glamorous. It's slow, often invisible. It's waking up and deciding to breathe, even when life feels heavy. It's accepting help when pride screams no. It's taking small steps, sometimes such the step of existing. Because the mind doesn't rebuild all at once. It reconnects in fragments, like pieces of broken glass slowly finding their shape again. Everyone reaches the edge at some point. The difference between those who lose themselves and those who heal is the willingness to listen to what the edge is trying to say. And maybe that's the most beautiful truth. Sometimes, collapse is an act of love, the mind's way of saying enough, not out of defeat, but as a final plea for change. Burnout doesn't destroy you, it interrupts you, so you can rebuild with honesty. In that space, solitude often shows up, and though it feels heavy, it carries wisdom, because it's within emptiness that you finally find space to listen, to rest, to breathe again. So if you feel like you're on the brink of collapse, maybe you're actually standing at the edge of awakening. The chaos, the pain, the silence, all of it is part of the passage. And when you start to see solitude not as punishment, but as an invitation to rediscover yourself, a new kind of meaning begins to unfold. Because here's the truth few admit about loneliness. It's not empty. It's fertile ground for renewal. And remember,